All right, today we're going to dive into a really fascinating piece of Japanese pop history. It's this quiet, kind of overlooked mini album from an absolute legend, Yumi Matsutoya. You probably know her as Yuming. And what's so cool about it is that it gives us this rare glimpse into a totally different side of her, right before she just exploded into a national phenomenon. So the whole thing really kicks off with a puzzle, right? A big question. Why would a superstar in the making, at the absolute height of her powers in 1981, release this tiny four-song album that sounded, well, nothing like her other stuff? It makes you wonder, what was this little detour all about? Okay, so let's set the scene. The year is 1981, and Yuming, she's already a huge star in Japan. I mean, she's famous for this really sophisticated, breezy pop music that just perfectly captured the vibe of the time. She's on this unstoppable ride to the top, literally about to hit her golden age. And to really get how weird this was, you just have to look at the timeline. This mini album, Mizuno Nakano AGA, which translates to something like To Asia in the Water, it's literally sandwiched right between two massive, iconic albums. It's this strange little bridge connecting her breezy, vacation-y resort music and the super sophisticated urban city pop sound that, would make her a legend. And yeah, just 4 songs. 4. Not a full album, not some grand statement. It's more like a brief, almost whispered interlude. And honestly, that just makes its unique content even more curious. I mean, why go to all that trouble for such a tiny collection of tracks? And get this. This is the crazy part. It came out just months before her next album, which had the monster hit Mamote Agetai on it. We're talking about the song that launched a solid decade of her just dominating the charts. So this little 4-track EP, it was, for real, the quiet before the storm. So, where does this album actually take us? Well, that's where you see the most obvious shift. Most of Yuming's music back then was all about this idealized version of Japan. Think ski resorts, sparkling city lights. But this album, it suddenly just zooms out and takes a look across the sea. And this wasn't some vague idea either. It was a very specific itinerary. I mean, the album cover itself features the famous Raffles Hotel in Singapore. The songs then take us on this little tour through Jakarta, Hong Kong, and Dalian in China. It felt like a travelogue, for sure, but as we're about to find out, it was so much more than just a musical postcard. But like I said, this musical journey wasn't just a simple travelogue. This is where the album reveals its real, totally unexpected depth. See, Yuming wasn't just looking at the scenery, she was seeing the shadows that were still lingering there. Yeah, this was a world away from her usual songs about young love and glamorous city life. The lyrics here are, well, they're heavy. They give you these little flashes of lives that aren't rich or easy. And they hint at something even darker, the unhealed scars of war. And you can see this so clearly in one absolutely devastating line from the song Surabaya Saito Dori no Imotoe. She sings, "The thin old man looks away from me and Japan as if to blame." Wow, that's not a big political statement. It's a deeply personal, observed moment of unresolved history. For a pop record in 1981, that is just a shocking flash of raw, unfiltered honesty. And then there's another layer to this kind of melancholic tone. It comes from this phrase, also from the same song, Rasa Sayonke. Now, according to the original album notes, this translates to something like, "What a shame," or "Too bad." It's not angry, it's like a sigh, a lament. It perfectly captures that feeling of seeing something beautiful that's also tinged with sadness. So you have to ask, what was she trying to do here? Was this secretly a protest album hiding inside a pop EP? Was she trying to make a big political statement? Well, the answer is a little more complicated than that. From everything we can tell, Yuming's goal wasn't to preach or to offer up solutions. Her approach was really that of an artist, an observer. She was just committed to reflecting what she saw, to seeing things as they are, warts and all. It was more about bearing witness to something, not trying to lead a movement. And when you put them side by side, the contrast is it's night and day. On one side, you've got her huge blockbuster albums, all about that idealized Japan, young love, the glamorous resort and city life. And then you have this EP, focused on a much wider Asia, full of mature, kind of somber observations and the shadows of real, complicated life. It's like 2 different artists. All right, so where does that leave us?
How should we remember this strange little record, this brief detour she took on her way to superstardom? What's its legacy, really?
Ultimately, I think Mizuno Naka no Asia A stands as this brave, thoughtful, and just deeply interesting small work. No, it wasn't a commercial giant, but what it does is give us this priceless look into the mind of a mature artist who is grappling with a world that was way more complex than her popular hits let on. It's a real testament to her depth as an artist. And that kind of leaves us with one last thought to chew on. We almost always focus on the biggest hits, right? The chart toppers, that's the main highway of an artist's career. But maybe, just maybe, their most revealing, most daring, and, most interesting work is actually found in these quiet little detours. Something to think about, isn't it?